Can you
No,
share your
I'm
screen?
live. I'm live. So I'm good to go.
Okay.
I just didn't use Chrome. So far, there's only one person here, and I think that's you. LOL. Well, hi everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a little user problem. I forgot to go onto Chrome. I've got to use Chrome when I do this, and so it was my YouTube was just spinning and spinning and spinning, and it wasn't going anywhere. So, well, welcome back. We're in our second episode on emotional regulation. I hear a number of groups use the first episode for their conversation. So hopefully this week they'll be able to use this one also. But if you haven't figured out yet, you just sign into the network and here I am. Okay. And I'll be here every Thursday night. And I'm glad that you're here. That's good. I like it that you're here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Last week, if you didn't see it, you'll want to watch that one first and then watch this one because I explained to you what emotional regulation is, and I talk about how to do regulation or why it's necessary. And we talk about the difference between EQ, that is emotional regulation or emotional intelligence, versus IQ, which is your intellect, your how smart you are, or supposedly how smart you are. Sometimes I think, it all depends on when you take those kinds of tests and do that kind of work. So let's talk about tonight how to improve your EQ, how to improve your emotional intelligence. Now, I'm going to just say this right up front, that if you are a person who really suffers from some real difficult emotional regulation, maybe due to a personality disorder or some kind of trauma that you've had in your life, we're going to talk about that second, how to up your EQ. But first, I'm going to just talk about to all of us who get triggered every now and then, some of us more than others, and maybe you suffer with some emotional regulation, but you just want to get better at regulating yourself and managing your emotions. So I'm going to give to you 10 things that you can do, and kind of important things. And especially in the workplace, within relationships, these are gonna really make a difference. First of all, number one, utilize an assertive style of communicating. If you're like I am, many times you don't communicate how you really feel because you don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, or you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. And so what you end up doing is holding it down. And then when it finally does come out, it doesn't come out well. It's not assertive. Now it's like bombastic. Well, people that have good emotional regulation are able to communicate how they think, or what they think, or what they're feeling, or how they see something, and without being overly emotional about it. And they're still able to respect the person that they're sharing it with. So it could be that you disagree about something or whatever, but you're able to do it in such a way that you're respectful of the other person. So learning how to use an assertive style of communicating is very important. Now, the second thing is to respond instead of reacting. Respond instead of reacting to conflict. During a conflict, there's many times there's emotional outbursts of feelings or anger, and those are common things. And the emotionally intelligent person knows how to stay calm during that stressful situation. And it's because they don't operate by making impulsive decisions, which even lead to bigger problems. In other words, when when some of us get angry, we lose our filter that keeps us from saying certain things. And we don't really think through and we just go for it. And then a lot of things are said that trigger the other person. The emotions just get going and going, and everybody's getting triggered and it's ricocheting off the walls, so to speak. But instead, to really get to a point where you respond, controlled response instead of reaction. And it emotionally intelligent people understand that at the points of conflict, the goal is a resolution, not more conflict. And it isn't always about being right. Sometimes the relationship is more important. And words can get in the way of alignment sometimes. And so responding and dialoguing and keeping that going as opposed to reacting and then bucking heads with the other person and almost the need to be right. That is more of an emotional response, and it's not helpful. So respond instead of reacting. Then thirdly, in order to raise your emotional intelligence or your emotional regulation, I would suggest that you want to learn how to use active listening skills. Active listening skills means that instead of thinking about what you're going to say or getting triggered by what you think somebody's saying, that you actually do listen to them and that you understand fully what they're saying before you respond. That will help you a lot. Even if it's hard to hear what they're saying, to just say, are you saying this then? Is this what you mean? Or can you explain in other words what you mean? And so you want to just use active listening skills. Number 4, be motivated. Intelligently or emotionally intelligent people are self-motivated, and their attitude motivates others. So they set goals and they're resilient when they face challenges. They don't give up. They just think if I can't reach this way, then we've got to try this way or whatever. But that you don't become agitated. You're motivated instead when you run into things that aren't working. Number 5, practice ways to maintain a positive attitude. This book, I don't know if I talked about it last week, but this is one of the most important books I've read in a long time. It's Learned Optimism, How to Change Your Mind and Your Life. And this doctor, Seligman, he really talks about the fact that pessimism really is a mindset that can be changed. And so emotionally intelligent people have an awareness of the moods of those around them, and they guard their attitude accordingly. They don't let other people pull them down. They maintain their own attitude, and they stay positive about things. Even if things are difficult, they stay positive. So practice a way to maintain a positive attitude. Number 6, practice self-awareness. This one's a biggie. Learning how to really be aware of how you're feeling and what's going on inside of you at all times. I always say, I don't dare let my mind be an automatic pilot. I've got to be paying attention and piloting my own mind and my own thinking. And when you practice self-awareness, then if you're starting to get triggered or agitated or you're irritated with something, you know what's going on inside of you, so it doesn't just show up and blow up, so to speak. Number 7, take critiques well. Always just never believe that the other person is out to get you or anything. Just always say, even if it's hard to hear, even if they're wrong about 80% of it. 20% of it is going to be something I can learn from. And when you have high EQ, or when you're raising your EQ, you begin to realize that you can learn even from somebody's extremely negative and hurtful criticism. And it can help you. And to do that and just listen and say to yourself, I'm going to take what I hear, and I may have to work through it or whatever. And, but it's going to be okay. So take critiques well. Number 8, empathize with others. Emotionally intelligent people know how to empathize. They can feel the empathy. They can see the other person's perspective, and they get a sense of how they're feeling. And it's how we relate to people on a human level. Instead of making it out to be, I'm going to say this, I really think emotional regulation has a lot to do with the less shame people feel. Shame causes us to protect ourselves and to feel like we have to be the ones who are right, or we're the ones who are making our point, and you need to listen to me, and all those kinds of things. And I can't be proven wrong. I can't be wrong, because then that would mean something really is wrong with me. And it's all based in shame. Well, when you can empathize with others and realize, I may feel this way, they may feel a different way, that's okay. And to empathize with them means I can understand their perspective. I can hear where they're coming from. And in fact, I get it. I get that's why you feel this way or whatever. So you empathize with others. Number 9 is that you utilize leadership skills, not manipulative skills, not aggressive skills, but leadership skills. Um, for instance, I could tell you that for a long time in my life, many years ago, in my early 20s, I think I was so insecure in my leadership that many times it was like I had to remind people that I was the leader, you know. And when you're the leader, you don't have to remind people. You lead, and you do it, um, understanding that you can lead. And so you take initiative, and you look for problem solving. You look for ways to solve issues that maybe other people are feeling, or whatever. And you really work at being productive, and that you have a high level of performance in life and work. And you you when you're that kind of person, people want to follow you. It's just that simple. Number 10, be approachable and sociable. In other words, if you and I are the kind of people that people can relate to, it's going to keep emotional reactions from being over the top. It's emotionally healthy people usually come off as very approachable, because they're not feeling like they have to defend themselves or keep other people from them. And they give off a positive feeling. And I would say they're peaceful. That for those of us who are Christians, we would say the fruit of the Spirit is evident in their lives. And so that's why it's so important to be approachable and social. Now, if you don't struggle in a huge way with low emotional intelligence, then these are all things that can help you do even better with your EQ. Um, Sometimes when I work with people that have had really hard childhoods and had a lot of childhood trauma, then in that case, if they want to raise their EQ and their emotional intelligence, they're going to have to go back and work through the trauma first, and really work on those things first. and work through any emotional hurts and pains that are there, and then learn new ways of communicating, learn new ways of um, being a resilient person and things like that. And kind of, they many times have to chip away at the chip on their shoulder about life, because sometimes that's the old fashioned way of saying he's got a chip on his shoulder, you know. And instead to really work hard at reparenting themselves and giving themselves tools to just be communicative and even know what they're feeling and what emotions they're feeling and all of those things. So that's usually going to be done through therapy. And sometimes people are so stuck with in an emotional mindset due to either childhood trauma or um, lots of abuse as a child, or because of a borderline personality disorder or whatever. And in that case, then I would say DBT skills are what is necessary. And that's really where you, well, you learn to work in your reasonable mind, instead of you take the emotional mind and the wise mind, and what you do is you learn to use a much more reasonable approach. Emotional mindset is when people get into an emotional mindset, many times they can't get out of it, and so it takes a lot of work. And unfortunately, somebody can't give you medicine that all of a sudden turns it into, oh, I'm in my reasonable mind now. um, People have to learn this. This is hard work, but it's very worth it. And you would want to see somebody who works in DBT. Dialectical behavioral therapy is what it is. And it really is learning when you get triggered and you're starting to move to your emotional mind, and you're gearing up and you're going to swirl out of, it's, I feel this, I feel that, you know, and instead you learn to use wise mind, and you blend those and you become much more reasonable, where you can talk about your needs, how you're feeling, but in a very reasonable way. And the good news is that even if you have extremely low emotional intelligence due to whatever reasons, you can raise your emotional intelligence. You can actually become much more intelligent emotionally. And that's really good news. And now, next week, we'll probably wrap up this topic on emotional EQ or emotional intelligence. But hopefully, this is helpful to you. Um, like we said last week, you can have a high IQ, but if you don't have very high emotional intelligence, or don't have a lot of emotional regulation, then you're going to be like a very brilliant child throwing temper tantrums, and it's going to be hard to be around you. And there are some incredibly intelligent people, but they don't have a lot of EQ, or they're lower on the EQ, and it actually hurts them professionally. It hurts them in their private lives. And so this is something that people can change. And it's not like, your eye color, or, something that you can't change about yourself. This is something you can change. And you can really become a stronger, more assertive, content, and happier person because of it. And your personal relationships can go a lot better. So maybe as you think about this topic, I would challenge you to ask yourself this question tonight. And that is, out of the things that I've just suggested, out of these 10 things, what maybe are a couple of them that I could work on, that I really could work on and improve on, and it would improve my um, skill set for my regulating my emotions. Um, I'll go back to learning to be assertive in your style of communicating, responding instead of reacting, utilizing active listening skills, being a motivated person instead of a person who has to be motivated. Practice ways to maintain positive attitudes. Practice self-awareness, what's going on inside of me. Learning to take critique well and empathize with others. Learning how to be much more empathetic and utilizing leadership skills, developing them and utilizing them, and becoming more approachable and sociable. So out of those 10, what might you focus on? Or if you really suffer with a lot of emotional dysregulation, if you will, um, what might you do in order to start learning DBT? And if you've taken DBT, but you're not really working it, you're not, well, what might you do about that? Because when you have a low EQ or you have a low emotional intelligence, you're going to end up many times being discontent. And the relationship issues become a problem, and it just becomes a problem where um, you know you're just more miserable, and this will bring better mental health. It will bring better emotional health. It will allow you to live more peacefully. You will experience the fruit of the Spirit more so, and the joy and the peace of the Lord. So, somebody is asking, Pastor, where can one start in order to improve his EQ? Well, I think you want to start in one of these areas. And I would encourage you, if you're really serious about it, to there are numerous books, and that's what I'll do next week. I will suggest you some books that you can read about it. Um, but if you really suffer, then I would get any kind of book on DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. I would make an appointment with a DBT therapist or teacher. They have groups, DBT groups also. But also, if you're less severe, or you're functioning well, and you're not emotionally overreacting to everything, and you just want to sharpen your skills, I'm going to have some suggestions of some books and some specific things. But the areas to work on would be any one of these 10 areas, and any kind of reading uh, that you might find along the way would be good. Let's just take self-awareness, for instance. About anywhere from 2 to 3 times a day, sometimes as many as 4, I will stop what I'm doing and I will simply ask myself internally. I don't normally do it out loud, but I will ask myself, how am I doing? What am I feeling? Um, and for instance, I might review how, if it's at lunchtime, I'm asking myself this question, I might review the morning, and I might say, you haven't really done much today, or it seems like you're avoiding doing some of the stuff you need to get done. Why are you avoiding it? What is keeping you from accomplishing it? Or maybe after a meeting, I can give you this example where in a meeting I might get irritated or agitated about something, and I afterwards I'll ask myself, why was that irritating you? Why was that agitating you? Or why are you feeling stirred up a little bit? You know, I try to do that long before I'm actually stirred up. And then I try to be aware of that. Or if I wake up, there are times that I wake up and I'm just crappy. I don't know if it's age or sometimes I just feel like I'm a crabby old man. Well, I need to be aware of that. And sometimes it needs to be, um, why might I be feeling that way? Maybe I didn't sleep well. Maybe something's bothering me. Um, maybe there's somebody I'm worried about, or there's a health issue or whatever. Being self-aware, that's what it means. And you just have to pick that up and work on it. I suppose there's books you could read on it. And I'll have some of those for you next week. But there are some EQ books, emotional intelligence and emotional regulation books that you can read that I will be sure to have for you next week. Okay. Well, I think unless there's any other questions or anything that people want to know tonight, I think that takes care of this week. And so if you get a chance, either just think through it yourself, or if you're going to use this in a group, in your Fresh Hope group or any other kind of discussion group, just really tonight ask yourselves, what do I need to be working on? What are the things that I could be working on? And let's talk about it next week, okay? Hey, I'm really glad you were here this evening. I apologize that we got started late. I'll see you next week, and I'll be on time because I will remember to use Chrome instead of Firefox. By the way, that's probably a good example of EQ. Tonight, I didn't get all, angry and upset with myself that I didn't remember that. It was what it was. I mean, I couldn't do it any different. I forgot. And that doesn't make me weak. It doesn't make me, everybody makes mistakes. See, that's EQ. It didn't throw me. It didn't trigger me. It didn't where I'm saying, oh, I'm so stupid. I should have known. I better do better. They're going to think I'm inadequate, or they're going to. Years ago, I would have done all that, but not now. Years ago, all that would have gone on in me without me even being aware of me thinking about it. And tonight I just said, oh, that's right. I have to use Chrome. And that was after the little spinning thing had spun for about 10 minutes. So anyway, all right. God bless. We'll see you next Thursday night, same time, same place. Bye.